Welcome to this other episode. This is Dr. Shalua. I'm excited that you are here. I know you had choice of doing so many things and watching so many other things, but you decided to tune in and dialogue with me. Well, I've got a question I want to ask you. What is a most valuable asset you have in your life? If I may ask you, take a minute to think about it and put that answer at the back of your mind. What is something that you value most, more than any other thing in your life? Some might think probably, my house, or my family, or my health, or my car, or a piece of land I have, or a property which I have. I don't know what you feel and you deem as very valuable more than anything else. And you will protect it at any cost. Normally, if something is of a great value to you, you tend to put it very close to your heart and you protect it at any cost. So, have you already figured out what is the most valuable asset you have in your life? Well, I'll tell you mine. And probably this is going to challenge you. You want to guess? Okay, here we go. The most valuable asset I have in my life is my mind. The mind, to me, is everything. I am who I am because of all the decisions, all the thinking, all the problem-solving mechanisms, all the planning of the future, all the education and knowledge and understanding. Everything resides on my mind. So to me, my mind is the most valuable asset of all. So what happens? I protect it at any cost. Have you ever heard a phrase, garbage in, garbage out? The computer programmers came up with this kind of a slogan that whatever you program in the computer, that's what the computer gonna give it back to you. And our minds, in one way or the other, is exactly like a computer. What you program in, that's what comes out. Things like thinking process, imagination, memory, decision-making mechanisms and processes, judgment, reasoning. All these are the faculties of the mind, and we call that the mental phenomenon. They are all residing in our mind. And how are we going to protect it? Is there a special helmet that we can put on in order to protect it? Whoa, don't confuse. The mind and the brain are two different things. The brain, we protect it using our helmet. So you might ask, so what kind of a helmet do I need to put on in order to protect my mind? Well. The way we protect our minds is by being very careful what we expose our minds to. There are two main doors to your mind. The first door to your mind, which is a cognitive door, is what you see. And the second one is what you hear. These two and their combination have a great influence on what goes into our mind, what is registered, as important or not important. There are certain things which program our mind based on the repetition. So if you watch things that are fearful, things that are scary, things that, make you unstable for a long period of time, guess what? That is programming you. You're going to be very fearful. Program, garbage in, garbage out. But if you hear and watch inspirational things, motivational things, things that build you up, things that give you courage, you tend also to be a courageous person. Why? Because your mind is programmed that I can do it. You kind of like build through affirmations. That is what we tell ourselves. We build our minds. We build ourselves because you're programming your mind and it believes what you tell it. Ancient scriptures say faith comes by hearing. It doesn't matter what kind of faith. It can be a faith that destroys you or a faith that builds you. Certain kinds of crap faiths, and they fail you all the time. And there is a good faith which builds you up all the time, helps you. So what do I do in order to build myself? There are things that I avoid in order to protect my mind, and there are things that I do to exercise my mind to make sure that it is doing what I want it to do. Probably I should ask you, what do you do with your mind? Well, I'll tell you what I do with my mind. I read books a lot. Different kinds of books, not bad books, but good books, because they help me, because that is sensory. It gets to me, and I'm very decisive on what exactly do I read. I just don't read anything. I am very selective. I censor. We live in an era or age of information. There is too much information out there, and most of the information is valueless and is not building up information. It's not a good information. So I censor what I read and what goes into my mind, and I've put an analytical censor. It filters through everything which comes to me. I look at the credibility. Who said this? What kind of a research has been done concerning this particular concept? Are these facts true? Because these days anybody can say anything. I protect my mind. If I believe in a lie, I will act and live on a lie. That's a problem. It's a major problem. And how many people live on a lie? Somebody made them to believe a lie, and they are sincerely wrong because they did not protect their mind. I don't spend a lot of time on social media. If I am on social media, I make sure that I censor what I watch and what I read and who do I interact with. I just don't interact with anybody or everybody. No. One, it can be a time waster, and another thing is it can influence me in a negative way. Only things which influence me in a positive way, if there is inspiration, if there is motivation, if there is a good report, if there is something which is of virtue, if there is something which is of noble, if anything is of a good report, those are the kinds of things that I listen. Those are the kinds of things that I watch. Things that make me happy, not things that make me sad. No. What about friends? Yeah, friends too. They can impact and influence your life so much because of what they tell you all the time. If you have friends who are positive and they're always talking about ideas and how you can progress in your life in different kinds of areas and improve what you're doing. Those are the kinds of friends I want to be around them, because I know what they feed into my mind is something positive. Because it is said, you are a sum total or an average of a sum total of your friends in terms of your IQ, in terms of your income, in terms of your character. If I want to know your character, I will look at your friends. If I want to know of your income, guess who I'm going to look at? I'm going to look at your friends. You're only $1,000 to $2,000 away from your friends. That's what they say. So friends have a big impact in our mind because of the interactions that we have with them. So be careful of who do you interact with. Who are your companions? Who are your buddies? It's all about protecting our most valuable asset in our life, because most of the decisions, small and big decisions, you're going to make them using your mind. Big impact and small impact decisions are all processed and made with your mind. Solving your problems. How are you going to tackle things which come your way depends a lot on what is in your mind. Have you ever heard when you do something weird, they say, are you out of your mind? Or they will say, what were you thinking when you're doing this? It has got something to do with the mind. Or they will say, wow, this is great minds. Big minds, great minds, wonderful ideas, because they did something which is great, which is Nobel. So I want to encourage you, of the things that you protect, your mind. That's the most valuable thing. Your mind can take you places where you had never imagined, you have never dreamt of, you've never even thought about. Or it can take you to a terrible, terrible, terrible place, because we have got twisted minds. Protect your mind. Protect what you hear. I'll just talk a little bit about conspiracy theories. There are certain deadly conspiracy theories which are out there. I listened to one during this time of pandemic, and this person was talking about why we should not take vaccines. I mean, millions of people are dying around the globe around this time because of COVID-19. For these past 2 years, we have witnessed millions of people dying, and this person boldly is telling everybody not to take vaccines, and people were shouting. And all the information he was giving is not based on good science. It was based on bogus science. And people believe. And guess what? These people are going to contract the virus. These people are going to die. And if we ask what was going on in their mind, you know what? They listened to garbage. They acted and manifested garbage in their lives. That's one example. There are so many examples of positive things and negative things. But there are certain things which are not forgiving. If you let your mind be programmed by things that are deadly, what are we going to manifest in our life? We're going to manifest death or deterioration. Be careful. Be careful. Mind, the most valuable thing which you need to protect at any cost. What do you think about that? That's where the issues of life come from. Your mind, and some people will say your heart. Not a physical heart, but that deepermost part of you. Do you like what you hear? I'm excited about it. Some of the things that I do in order to exercise my mind and to make it strong, I memorize things. I make my mind sharp by memorizing things. So I memorize scriptures. I memorize telephone numbers. I even memorize my credit card. And my wife is like, what? This is like, yes. I'm like, yes. My credit cards, 2 or 3 of them are all memorized. So sometimes I forget my wallet and I want to purchase something. I just go ahead and punch them numbers. Because it's all memorized. And I do that intentionally to keep my mind sharp. And I try to remember streets. I try to remember names. I try to put heavy tasks on my mind. I read not only simple things, I solve difficult problems. And I read sometimes difficult things. Why do I do that? Because I want my mind to be sharp. And one person told me, Lucas, you've got a photographic memory. I trained my memory to remember. When you're telling me something, I'm intentionally remembering it. There are certain things I don't need to remember, but there are certain things I intentionally memorize them in order to practice. You know, your mind is like your muscles. If you don't challenge your mind, it shrinks, it becomes small. But if you challenge your mind, you feed it with difficult problems to solve, you develop your mental muscles and it becomes strong and it can solve complex issues. Again, it's a law of use and disuse. If you don't use it, what happens? You lose it. So use your mind. Don't just be idle. Don't just be there like a cabbage. No, use your mind. And that's how you develop it. You don't wear it down. You're developing it. You're sharpening it. And when a real problem comes, your mind is sharp enough. Your mind can tackle that challenge, to wrestle it down and present to you a good solution. And every aspects of our lives governed, monitored, and they are controlled in terms of response by our minds. Your mind tells you what to do when you're sick, what to do when you're tired, how to act, how to react, how to respond, how to do everything is all centered in your mind. So to me, my mind is the most valuable asset of my life, and at any cost, I protect it. Let me know what you think about it. Thank you very much for being here. Seeing you in the next episode.